English stinking test. Beginning, we are beginning side B. We're talking about a V.
Yeah. Well, this, I think it was 1956, right around there. Anyway, my dad and mom uh, wanted to go down to Jacksonville, Florida, and they wanted to go with them. And she asked Dr. Barucci up here, and he said, well, if you're going anywhere but toward warmer weather, I'd say no. But as it is, I'd say go ahead. So she went with them. She went down there, and they were having a good time there in Jacksonville. Excuse me. And anyway, this day, I really don't know exactly how, but anyway, they were going somewhere in the car, of course, and she got to feel pretty bad, so they stopped. Yeah, it must have been the hospital, and anyway there, she had what they call cardiac arrest. That was the end of it. But my dad never even got close to getting over that. But of course, 6 years later, he had decided he did not want to live any longer. And, well, he didn't commit suicide or anything like that, I know. But he went to the hospital this evening. Russ Blair took him up, and Craig and I went along. And anyway, there they took him in the hospital, and I remember he said on the way up there just beyond Flatwoods, there's a lake over to the left. And he said, well, I'll never see that again. He knew he wasn't coming back. And I knew that he didn't want to. But anyway, the next morning, well, Alan and I, Craig was still working down at Bowles then when that was there. And Alan and I were about ready to go to work. Work called, deliver mail. But got a phone call from the hospital, and they said, if you want to come up, you'd better come up now. And, well, of course, Craig was going to go, but about 15 minutes later they got a call and said he had passed away. So that ended that, and that made, well, I knew he had to be happy because he wanted to go there long ago. And,
how old was he?
but I don't know whether he's, well, no, I don't want to say that.
Well, how old was he at the time when he passed?
How old? I think he was, no, that was in 65. And 65, 87, you tell me.
Okay.
87 to 65.
70 something.
Well, tell me this, was there any questions that you regret not asking your parents?
Well, of course, by that time, you were around.
Yeah.
Had part of our family already. I think Janelle and Chris was probably pretty young then, I'm not sure. But I'm not even sure Janelle was born then. I
In
don't.
65, yeah, she was.
Oh, okay. But I remember my mother said, "What am I going to do?" And Craig and I both said to him, we said, "We're here. We'll be here." And of course, Alan too. So we took care of her till her time came. Oh my, 1980 she lived. And I was off work that day. I was on vacation, really. I don't know why in January, but it was. But this was on January the 6th. And Craig's birthday was the 8th. And Ruth was living up here too then. And anyway, well, this day, my mother, she'd weakened down, and she was still in bed downstairs then because getting up and down the steps. In there was a dining room there, just a half, one twin bed, I guess you'd call it there. And that's where she slept. And Ruth and I were there that morning, and she was in bed, of course, just there. And we kept checking on her and checking on her. So, I don't know, must have been around 10:30 or 11 o'clock, she passed away. And then, of course, we called. Lois was over at church, said something. And Craig was worked up at the school. And it was called them, and they got there. That took care of that.
Mm-hmm. So there's nothing you wish you would have asked them while they were still living?
No,
That you could think of?
I can't say what, because I think she always knew that we loved her, that anything going wrong we were there
Sure.
to help her, even though my dad was gone.
Sure.
I remember after he died, she said, "What am I going to do?" I just said,
You guys made it happen.
Yeah.
You made it work for it. Well, this is where the conversation gets a little more interesting. Can you tell me who was your first love?
My first love, Lois.
Great.
I think I need to go in for the number one. And I think I had number one.
Well, hey, when you find something good, you stick with it, right?
Absolutely.
How did you meet Lois?
We only spent 67 years together. And
Tell me how you first met her. How did you first meet her?
well, through her brother, Craig.
Okay. He was your buddy, and
Yeah. And then she became my buddy. Yeah. That was,
tell us about your
Probably.
first date. Tell us about your first date with her.
well, I remember, I can't say when it was, but I remember we went up to Connellsville to a movie, and I think it was a sailor, ship. And she seemed to enjoy it. And coming home, we went down Cemetery Hill, of course, and got her home. We went in and necked her on the wall.
pretty quick acting. The first date
Yeah,
back
well,
then, that's pretty good.
that first one was the bestest.
Oh, it got
Oh,
better
it
and
only went
better.
from bad to better.
Oh, good.
No, from good to better.
How did you get to know Craig, the brother Craig? Did he work at the post office with you?
Craig.
Yeah.
Craig Secrets.
It's Craig Seacrest.
Oh, I knew him as a kid. We were in school together. He was in the same class and all that.
Didn't he come to the house and to visit and then
Uh,
she'd be there and
No, we became friends without doing much more than go to school together.
oh okay.
But then after got out of school and got to driving and that, then we go here, there, and to other place. And I started taking Lois instead of him.
Well, that worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah, that worked out very well. I would think we're still working.
How long did you date Lois before you married her?
Well, I dated her, that would be in 40, probably early 40. No, it had to be in 41 till 47.
Well, you didn't rush into things then.
Well, it was 3 years out of that, but I wasn't around.
So, just so I understand the timeline, you met her in 41. Now, what year did you go? You were drafted into the war, right?
Yeah, 40,
For,
oh,
you said
February
43?
43 it was.
All right. Talk to us a little about your time in the military. I know that was
I
very
spent
important
all
to you.
their money. Now, well, when we went in, we went down to Fort Meade, of course, and that's where they give you tests and all that stuff. And,
Fort Meade, Maryland?
yeah,
Okay.
it's north of Washington,
Yeah, I know
there somewhere.
exactly where it is.
And the ones that had the better brains. But the Air Force, and that, I mean, that's a fact, I know that. The ones that had an IQ of such and such, they went to the Air Force. And anyway, I must have done well on the test that day because I was classified as having an IQ of 117, which is not bad.
That's very good.
And well, when I got in there, we were lucky. We went to Miami Beach, Florida, in February or March, whatever it was. And it was nice down there, nice and warm, you know, and all that. And I do remember the first time we had to leave, or whatever you call it. Oh, it was a Sunday afternoon. We went out and laid on the beach. And next day, I knew it. I had the worst sunburn I have ever hoped to have. And that uniform, it lay on the shoulder too good. And it hurt. And it hurt. And,
Too much of a good thing.
yeah, entirely too much of a good thing. And we was only out there a couple hours though. But of course we were pure white from being up here, no sun at all hardly. And yeah, it hit us pretty, not just me, a lot of us. But we got over that.
So that's where you did your basic training in Miami?
Yeah.
What facility? What fort or what's air base? You remember the name of the air base?
No, it was just a field there, but it wasn't an airplane thing. Actually, we were on the beach and we lived in hotels.
Wow.
We were on the 8th floor of a hotel, and we didn't dare use the
Elevator.
elevator, yeah. We had to walk up and down those eight. So we didn't want to do that any oftener than necessary. But uh, we did. And of course we'd do the calisthenics and all that stuff out there. And there was a case of where I was Lucky because I've been used to working on the farm, and a lot of these guys, same age, they come in here, they had been playing ball and stuff like that all summer, and they didn't have any energy at all. I can do those calisthenics and think nothing in the world of it. I can get out there and run for however far and think nothing of it. There was nothing because I used to working. And, well, of course, they probably began to catch up because of the exercise they were getting. But about that time, Greg comes down. He gets in the Army the same way, and he gets shipped down there too. So we had together there for about a month before I shipped out there. I had applied for the cadets to be pilot or something like that, you know. And I was accepted. There was a bunch of us, of course, did. And so in June that year, we took a nice little train ride from Miami Beach up to New York City, on up to Burlington, Vermont, University of, well, UVM they called it, University of Vermont, and that's where we spent the summer. In, well, it had been a ladies' dormitory, but of course it was all men in there then. And of course Craig wasn't there now. And well, we went to school there in Macaulay. We got a,
What'd you study?
yeah,
What was the subjects?
well, just, I can't say that. It was just anything to, you know, for the Army. And, and but come September or October, I'm not sure, it was beginning to get a little cool up there then. We were shipped back down to Maxwell Field, Alabama. And that's where they classified us and all this. And that's where I got to go to pilot school. Well, I went to pilot school at Lakeland, Florida. Nice place there. Of course, it wasn't a military base either, really. It was just an airfield there was, I don't know what, but it wasn't like an ordinary military base, so. Anyway, we had classes there. We went out and got in the planes and flew.
Now, what was the aircraft? What kind of airplanes?
Oh, just a biplane, PT-17 they called them.
PT-17, okay.
Yeah. And,
Single engine? Single engine or
oh,
multi?
yeah, just single engine. You don't start off with more than one
Oh,
engine.
sure.
Anyway, after we'd been there and flying back and forth a while, you know, doing loops and all that kind of stuff up there, this day we come out and long field there, like leveled off. Of course, I guess it was just a level field. But we landed. He said, "You take it up." So we did. And I made landed, perfect 3-point landing, nice one. And I know it. But he signaled, do it again. Back around, landed again. Well, the third time, I got a red light down there and stopped, and that was it. I've made my three-point landings, yeah.
Right.
And that was good, nice. Well, that was on a Friday. So Saturday, well, we weren't doing a hell of a lot then. But of course, we went to town Saturday night, and of course, we went back to camp overnight. Next morning, they said, well, come on out, we'll take a flight. Well, that day, the instructor stayed with me the whole way, and I couldn't do anything. I'd come in over the field, and I was way up or way down or something. Nothing went right. Well, of course, naturally, I washed out right there, and that was the end of that. So I went out to gunnery school. See how I spent their money? They wasn't getting anything out of me.
I don't remember
But that's
hearing
about
the
the size of
story
that.
about you flying those three. I never heard the stories about you actually flying there.
Oh,
That's
I
why we
thought
do
I
these
told
things.
I don't remember that story at all.
Oh, I thought I told that to everybody 100 times. That was my crowning moment, I'd say.
Okay, so you're in gunnery school now.
And well, that was out Buckley Field. It was armorer's school first. And that was to learn about the guns and the turrets and all that. And then from there, well, we went from Buckley Field across Denver to Lowry Field, and that's where we had most of our schooling. Oh, it was Buckley Field that went into a pick up a meal there, and there was somebody I knew, John Payne, actor.
No, doesn't
You
ring a bell
never
to
even
me.
heard of him.
No.
Anyway, he was in there. He was in the Army, and he was not happy, and he did not like anything about it, I don't think. But he was serving KP. And he looked like the last words of last week. But from there, we weren't there, I don't think, over a week or maybe two. They shipped us over to Lowry Field, and that's where we got our armor stuff.
Lowry Field is where? What state?
It's right outside of Denver.
Right outside, okay.
Yeah, both of them right out there. One on the east and one on the west, I think. It was a nice field, though, and a nice base there. And so that's where we learned how to operate turrets. That's where we learned to fix and operate machine guns. And that was, well, it was a nice enough time. We were just, actually for me, it was just fun. Is that thing still working?
Yep, still working. I'm watching it.
Anyway, we were there for, I don't know, several months, and that's when they shipped us down to Harlingen Field in Texas, down in southern Texas. And that's where, well, they put us in turrets, not in the airplanes, but stationary turrets, and that's where you shoot your machine guns and that.
You practice.
It's fun, really, playing stuff, but shooting, you know. And we were out on the gunnery range one day, and well, there was a whole bunch of us, of course, not just me, but they handed me a carbine rifle. Nice little army mount gun. And they said, there's 10 bullets in it. You lay here and shoot at that target. And they showed me, another person there said, he showed me just exactly where to aim. And I did. Bang, 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 10 times. Bullseye. 9 out of 10.
Woo!
Nice.
Good for you.
And the other one was about that far off was in a circle. So I was called an escort. And when it come, well, it was graduation time about that time. And first person they called up, Corporal Clarence Carson. And then coming next one was William, oh, I forget the name now, but anyway, he was a good friend. The two of us were called up together. When it come to the class, we had both tied for high.
Mm.
And that was okay. Got a little, yeah, I got a nice silver bracelet. Both of us did. And I come home and gave it to Vay. After we got married, I gave it to Lois. And it's probably around here somewhere now, but I don't know. I haven't seen it in years. The band on it wore out. Just leaked, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea where it went. But anyway, while we were down there in Harlingen, another friend of mine and I decided one day we'll get down to Mexico, just a few miles across the border there. So we went down to this little town, Matamoros. Well, we just run around there for a couple hours and come back, cross back over the border, and we were going to hitchhike a ride back to base, you know. So we started to walk. We hadn't walked any great distance when a nice coupe, you know, two-door car,
Mm-hmm.
come by and stopped, and we hung our thumbs out and picked us up. There was a beautiful girl driving that thing.
Somehow I figured the story was going to go in that direction.
It's getting more interesting,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
My eyes lit up. Anyway, we got back to base, got out of the car, thanked her very much, and she drove off, and we looked at each other and said, was that Hedy Lamarr? And I'm sure yet that it was.
Wow. Wow.
Hedy Lamarr. She was one of the stars that time.
Sure.
I'm sure she was the one, but of course I can't
Prove it.
But it,
Wow.
it made our day anyhow.
I can imagine.
Now where do we go?
Well, I think you're going to go overseas at some point.
Well, okay. Of course, we was in B-24s by that time. And we went out to Lemoore, California. That's where a bunch of us got together. And from there we went up to Tonopah, Nevada. It's a little dump about the size of Star Junction, maybe, not much more. And there was a field there, of course. And there's where we flew out of there almost every day, or every few days. And just get flying time. And well, I know one of the pilots there, and there's ours. Oh boy, he pulled a dawn. The pilot said to the co-pilot, put all the pressure against me, the flaps and stuff on the plane, against me, and see how much I can hold the plane, on a straight course. Well, he got down and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, and he was still holding it. But after a while, he says, let her go. Which he did, and then it took back off again. But he had been flying down so low that he was picking up sagebrush under that plane.
Ooh.
And that is scary.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Of course, right there. Then, of course, you could look out and shoo! Yeah. Surge, the same sagebrush and stuff just flying by, of course, because if don't be flying a B-24 real low, you're supposed to have a little speed on her.
Sure.
But, oh,
I'm fine. You want to take a little break?
yeah.
All right, let's do that. Okay, what I want to do is tell me about when you first went overseas.
Well, we took off from air base right there at San Francisco, and we had all our luggage and everything in the B-24, and on a trip like that, it was 2,200 miles from there to Hawaii. Next island out there, really, I think. But we took off about midnight from San Francisco, and we poked along, saving gas, of course, and we flew for 17 and a half hours, and we landed at Honolulu. And we stayed there for, just 2 or 3 days. And from there we flew down south to Christmas Island. It's just an island out in the middle of nowhere. We stayed there overnight, and took off and went to Canton Island, I believe, C-A-N-T-O-N, heading west, of course. Stayed there overnight, took off in the morning, and landed at Tarawa. We've all heard of that one, I think. And, that was the battle that we took from the Japanese there. And, anyway, the airfield was there. So that gave us another airfield to land on. And we did, and from there we flew to Guadalcanal. I think you've all heard of that one.
Sure, sure.
And again, we stayed there for, as far as I can remember, just overnight. Took off again and landed at I know it was in New Guinea, but I can't say just where. New Guinea is a right good-sized island, of course. And from there is where we flew our first missions. Well, that is from what they call Nadzab, which was just an air base about 15 miles west of Lae, L-A-E, to this air base. And there we stayed for quite some little time. We flew missions to up the coast there for miles, really. Some of them clear way up beyond where, well, let's say New Guinea is two different positions. One is belongs to Australia, and the western end of it, it belongs to Indonesia, at least now. And anyway, we were bombing somewhere up in the Indonesian part of it, but I don't know, of course it was Dutch probably then. But I remember the bombs there. I remember we thought we hit the target, but I don't know because our bombardier wasn't much. And thanks for the light. And
Take a picture of the light.
might keep me awake. We flew from there, and several other towns along the northern coast of New Guinea, of course. And well, we flew one to Rabaul, Rabaul, on New Britain Island. And it was probably supposed to be a pretty good-sized Japanese base there. But anyway, we gone in and out of there, okay. And another trip we headed for there, but got bad weather in between, and we got to go back to base. And when you do that, you do not land with bombs on a B-24. So we had to deactivate them and drop them in the river up there. I can't think of the name, Mackenzie River or something like that. And just a few days after that, then we flew to Mindoro, which is a right good-sized island just south of Luzon in the Philippines. That was where our base was over there. And from there we flew here, there, yonder, and so forth.
No, I just want to understand, you were based in Mindanao? You were based in Mindanao, Philippines? Is that what you told me?
Mindoro.
Mindoro.
No, Mindanao, no.
Mindanao's a...
It's on a really far southern
Right.
island of the Philippines. But no, we landed there and just stayed overnight there though. Then flew on up to Mindoro.
Mindoro is on the northern side of the Philippines then, is that
It
correct?
was just south of Luzon, the big island.
Okay, okay.
Just a few miles south, really. And so we flew our missions out of there. And I remember for 9 days in a row they were bombing a right good-sized city on the west coast of Borneo, Balikpapan. the name of it, and it was an oil base. Of course, the Japanese wanted that base. When the war began, that's one of the places they headed for right away because they wanted that oil. And there was also a refinery there. But they had bombed it years before I was in outfit there, and hadn't done too much for it, I know. But anyway, we were bombing there for 9 days in a row. Now, we were there 3 times. Each day would rotate. And after the 3rd trip there for us, that was enough. The day that the Australians were landing there to take it over after it had been bombed pretty well, you know. And I never did hear about how things went there, but they must have got it. But from there on, we were just puttering around, flying up to Formosa a couple of times, which is now Taiwan, of course. And that's where we actually flew our first mission, our last mission of the war, because we flew up there this morning, and well, we were right here's the lead plane. We were right here on his left wing, and we were leading that squadron. And I was just standing at the window there, just looking out. It was perfectly open, and we heard shells began to burst around too close, and I just looking over there and heard one go off under us, but just a little rattling, like just a little bit of shrapnel, you know. I looked over there, and right between the pilot's seat here and the number 2 engine here, about 6 or 8 feet in there, I saw a shell go off right between them. And you knew very well, I saw a shell going off that close, somebody's going to be hurt. Well, the pilot did. The co-pilot said later that he sat there pulling shrapnel out of his face.
Oh, wow.
And he was also cut up pretty badly too, because he didn't make it. But when he pulled away, and I saw our bombs go away just about that time, so we just followed him out. But he was going down, and we were getting heads out of there. And I saw a submarine, must have been laying right alongside of a rock out there, maybe a mile or 2 out from Formosa. And all the submarines boiling toward where that plane was going to hit the water. Well, we didn't see it, but we did hear later, of course, that the pilot didn't make it. Of course, the bomber was never just sink there then. But they picked up the crew, the rest of the crew, and brought them in on submarine. And we flew to, I don't know whether you've ever heard of the Lingayen Gulf in northwestern Luzon.
Luzon, of course, I've been there.
And anyway, we were approaching, well, which was over the bay, but all of a sudden, we were flying on 2 engines. This gasoline tank that had been hit in our plane had leaked enough gasoline, and very quickly, just to fill that plane with gas fumes. And we were really, really, really worried about getting a spark. That's all it would have taken. And anyway, we got her aired out, and so we was all right. But as we come in over the Lingayen Gulf and actually on a run toward the airfield, those two engines on the left side of that plane, our plane, went out. And of course we're flying this way. And that doesn't look good for landing either. But our engineer must have been pretty sharp on his actions because just a few seconds those two engines came back on. He had pumped fuel from another tank into that tank, and they got out to the engines. The engine decided were not in the wind anyway. They started up and we were in good shape. Landed, and that was it.
Wow.
That was my hunk of war.
And that was your very last mission?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Why was it your last mission? Why was the war almost over by then?
No, it wasn't over. This was in August, I believe. And